And we're going to start our 7:30 hearing. Let me just summarize the advertisement as a preamble. This is the December 15th, 2020, 7:30 hearing of the Milton Board of Appeals on the application of the Ice House 485-487 BHP Trust LLC regarding property located at 485 and 487 Blue Hills Parkway. This hearing is an initial public hearing, and the purpose of this hearing is scheduling and logistics, and not to take evidence at this particular hearing. The application is a comprehensive permit application pursuant to General Laws Chapter 40B, so as to allow the development of 52 condominium units consisting of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, and I believe it's 12 affordable housing units at the subject property. My name is John Leonard. I'm chairman of the Board of Appeals, and with me tonight are board members Brian Conley and Virginia Donahue King. I understand that the applicant is represented by attorney Adam Brodsky and Scott Golding of the Hingham Law Firm of Joan Toccio and Morgan. Mr. Brodsky, welcome to the Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Good evening to you and everyone else.
Thank you. Welcome to the board. Let me ask for the other people who are present in this virtual hearing, are there any other attorneys who are intending to file appearances on behalf of any other party to this litigation, or any other interested person to this particular application? Okay, I hear no response. So Mr. Brodsky, you may be the only show in town, so that's fine.
Mr. Leonard, my associate Scott Golding is in the attendees section. I don't know whether you want to promote him to be a panelist or not, but I just want to let you know that.
Yeah, well, I think we absolutely should promote him to be a panelist if we can do so. Bev?
Yeah, just a second.
Okay. Mr. Golding, are you there? Do you see Mr. Golding? I don't.
I'm here. I'm here, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Appeals. I can't see you, but I know you're there. So,
okay.
And
thank you.
We're sorry we put you in the in some other conference room. We'll try not to do that again. And Mr. Golding obviously is filing an appearance on behalf of the applicant. Okay, so if we have no other attorneys entering appearances on behalf of anybody, let me just summarize the present state of the record here, and we can go into some general discussion of the procedures that we're going to follow for this particular hearing and discuss possible dates. The present record consists of the June 22nd, 2020 application for comprehensive permit, and any letters and public comments that have been sent in to the Board of Appeals. We'll have all of those documents as part of the record. This particular hearing, in addition to being conducted on a virtual basis under the Zoom system, is also being tape recorded by our principal senior clerk of the Board of Appeals, Beverly Sutton, who's here with me in the Milton Town Hall. The proposal is that we conduct these hearings from 7 o'clock in the evening, but run no later than to 10 o'clock unless we have to go over 3 or 4 minutes. And that should be plenty of time to get in a lot of evidence. My experience is if you go very much after 10 o'clock, people lose attention span, they're tired, they've had a hard day's work, and it's not fair. Do you have any problem with that, Mr. Brodsky, going from 7 to 10?
No, Mr. Leonard. And at the appropriate time, let me know when I can introduce the members of the team that are here this evening.
Oh, great. Well, why don't you do that right now? This is probably the time to do it. I'm delighted.
Oh, thank you, sir. I simply wanted to introduce Charlie Bosworth and Paul Driscoll. They're managers of 485, 487 BHP Trust LLC, project proponent, as well as Dean Harrison, who is our real estate consultant working on the project, and they're all here this evening.
Great. Gentlemen, welcome to the Board of Appeals. We look forward to hearing from you at the appropriate time.
Thank you.
And thank you for attending. This is, as you know, it's a scheduling and introductory hearing, but we're delighted to have you here. Generally speaking, the way we proceed here is to schedule a site visit prior to the start of taking evidence on the case. This is the 15th of December, if memory has it. And I was thinking of attempting to schedule a site visit on the 19th. The difficulty is we apparently have a very difficult snowstorm arriving tomorrow night into Thursday with 10, 12, 15 inches of snow. And the 19th really may not be a suitable or an appropriate date to be conducting a site visit unless you want to shovel your way through parts of the property. Let me ask you, Mr. Brodsky, does that snowstorm pose difficulty from your perspective in having a site visit, or would you rather try to proceed to do it? The other alternative is to back it. Well, if we go to Saturday, the 26th, that's the day after Christmas, and that's probably a worse day to be having a site visit. So what's your viewpoint on scheduling a mutually agreeable site visit?
Mr. Leonard, I see Mr. Bosworth indicating that he may have an opinion on this. May I ask for his guidance on this?
So we're delighted. He may have the necessary equipment to make a site visit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we can have the site open for a Saturday site visit.
Okay. So does it make sense to schedule a site visit for Saturday? Would it be better in the afternoon or in the morning? Generally, I'd schedule it at 10 o'clock in the morning. It just depends upon your plowing and cleanup activities.
I think 10 o'clock would be fine with us, Mr. Leonard.
Okay, then that's great. So we'll schedule a site. Bev, is that all right for you? Because I think you probably want to attend the site visit.
I think so.
Okay, so we'll schedule then the site visit for the 19th of December, at 10 o'clock at the subject property. Probably will take 30 to 40 minutes, shouldn't be very long. Any member of the public who's tuned in here tonight certainly can attend the site visit. No technical evidence, no verbal evidence or documentary evidence will be taken at the site visit. The whole purpose of the visit is to have the applicant point out to the board and any member of the public who's present the boundaries of the property and any other features of the property that are going to be relevant to the evidence that is going to be introduced. And Mr. Brodsky's tried many, many cases, so he knows how to conduct a site visit. We will not have lengthy explanations of intended evidence or anything like that, but it's more, take a look at that red stake. That's the southwesterly bound of the property, and beyond that is Pope's Pond or whatever it may be. And pointing out, yes, between those stakes out in front, that's the proposed access. And here's the general location of where the building's going to be, that type of thing. So everyone can look at the property surrounding this, though we'll probably stay on on the subject property for the purpose of the visit. And we'll have a general familiarity with the site, all of which will be supplemented by photographs and aerial photographs and other plans that Mr. Brodsky and Mr. Goldings will be introducing. Obviously, the town of Milton is certainly entitled to be present. We encourage their presence at the site visit. I'm sorry.
Judy Barrett has her hand up. Is
Oh,
this-
yes,
Is this an appropriate time?
Yeah, it is. Judy Barrett's present with us tonight. With this system, I can't see most of the people present. Yeah, of course you can.
Participants, and then we'll leave it.
Oh, okay, that's helpful.
Attendees, and then you can see.
Okay. And I understand, that's great, that Miss Barrett wants to be briefly heard. So Judy, the floor is yours.
No,
Can you hear me?
okay, she is.
Allow the talk. Give her a second.
Hi, I just wanted to make sure that you know I'm on. If you need me for any reason.
That's good. I'm glad you did that. We have you. You're number one on our list here with talking being permitted. So that's always a good thing. And if you want to be heard, Judy is a consultant to the Board of Appeals on this application. Just let us know, raise your hand, and Bev will recognize you.
If it helps, Mr. Chairman, maybe you could just even make me a panelist and then I'm on with the rest of you. I mean, it's up to you, but that's how we did it last week, as I recall anyway.
Okay, I think that would be a great idea. We have our IT people with us tonight, and okay, so I think you're a panelist at the present time, so congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
So as a matter of general procedure here, we're having the site visit on the 19th. Is that convenient for you, Ms. Barrett?
If I can get out of my driveway, it's fine.
Well, same here. It's, I think we'll be able to get out of the driveway, and Mr. Bosworth will have things as clean as he can under the circumstances. So after the site visit, and we'll get into the exact dates of this, we'll have the applicant's presentation and whether documentary evidence or testimonial presentations. And generally speaking, if the applicant produces an architect, for example, and the architect testifies, the town would have the opportunity of asking a few questions of the applicant, and the board members would certainly do that. I should just point out to the public at large, Mr. Brodsky is very familiar with all of these procedures, that we're not trying this case as if it were a district court case or in the Superior Court. And it's a much more generalized, informal setting to some extent under the Administrative Procedure Act. We like to hear the evidence succinctly, not having extended hour-long cross-examinations of witnesses and qualifications, but that's obviously fair game. And a fairly orderly presentation of the witness, questions by the town, if they have any questions by the board members, possibly questions by some members of the public. If the questions are precise and direct and relevant. When we're dealing with the public's questions, they're generally addressed to the board and not to the witness. Then we'll proceed that way throughout the applicant's hearings, where they're presenting their case in chief. And once they finish their case in chief, which hopefully we can finish in a session or two, but Mr. Brodsky can help us out there from a timing perspective, then the town would have an opportunity to make a presentation. The elected officials would have their opportunity to speak in public session. would entertain general comments by the public at large, rebutting comments from the applicant or rebutting evidence by the applicant, and then the closing statements of the parties. Generally speaking, we like to have those in writing rather than oral presentation, but if the parties insist, we're not going to stop anybody from making closing remarks. We'd like to request that all attorneys who are going to be presenting evidence provide us with a list of their witnesses in their intended order of testimony. Hopefully a couple of days before the testimony actually takes place, so we'll have some idea as to what the evidence at the hearing is going to relate to. And likewise, if any of the applicants' witnesses intend to offer exhibits that are not included as part of the application, different photographs, different plans, calculations, traffic calculations, whatever they may be. Would ask those to be presented to the board and other interested parties a couple of days before the scheduled hearing so that we can read them, be familiar with them, and then the hearings will proceed in an orderly fashion. One issue always becomes the system that we're using, the Zoom webinar system. Fortunately, we have our IT folks handy and helpful, and gives us a comfort level to have that happen. But if you get multiple witnesses and multiple members of the public, sometimes the hearings can get somewhat difficult. I've seen administrative hearings using this Zoom system wherein the principal parties, here the applicant and perhaps the town of Milton, agree that they'll have a central location for their witnesses rather than having 5 witnesses all scattered all over the Zoom system. If for the first hearing, for example, Mr. Brodsky was going to offer the testimony of 3 expert witnesses, it may be helpful if they're at your office, Mr. Brodsky, and they can then testify. And if you have any questions or clarifications, you can do that right then and there without a lot of switching back and forth. And after the questioning of the expert, if you have another expert witness, rather than trying to find him in virtual land and make connections, you could have that witness assume the witness stand in your conference room or wherever you want to be. Does that make any sense to you as to a way to kind of consolidate and expedite the evidence?
Mr. Leonard, we'll certainly try to do that given COVID protocols. I'm anticipating things to change for the worse over the next few weeks and months, but if we can accommodate you, we certainly will.
Okay, and I think we have to do this on an ongoing as-needed basis with the flexibility of knowing where we're going here, because we don't know where we're going. And there may be a need to deviate somewhat from the dates that we're going to be selecting here. One of the principal issues that we have is that the board has decided to hear these applications in the order in which they were submitted. And Mr. Bosworth's application here was submitted on June 19th, 2020, and that's our first application to be heard. But we have so many hearings, some of them involving more complex issues in this hearing, more witnesses, more controversy perhaps, that what we tried to do is allocate a certain amount of dates for each hearing to see if we could make some sense in planning out the hearings. The problem being that we have finite dates. that the Board of Appeals has access to this Zoom webinar system. And Town Administrator, Mr. Dennehy, has done a wonderful job to try to give us the opportunity to reasonably and fairly spread those hearing dates out over the 180-day period. But that also necessarily requires us to kind of lock into some dates so that if we were having just public hearings where everyone could attend, we could have a couple of hearings on this particular application. Say we wanted to have peer review on some issues. We could kick this over for 20 or 30 days, then meet again and continue with the hearing. But because of our having to conduct this hearing virtually, we really don't have that much flexibility. So, and that may be an issue we just have to face as we go along here, because everyone needs to have their sufficient dates. We can have snowstorms, we can have COVID outbreaks, we can have just illnesses in general. And so it may be a little bit of a rough road, and we're all going to have to display some type of flexibility here in order to get all of these applications heard in a reasonably prompt but full and fair manner. And I know most of the applicants, I know a lot of the lawyers who are participating, and I think we're going to have mutual cooperation on both sides here to make everyone feel that as awkward as this virtual process may be, that everyone has had the right to the full day in hearing and to present whatever evidence they think they need. With respect to dates, this is technically the first hearing on the 15th. When Mr. Dennehy gave us the dates that were available to the Board of Appeals for public hearings on 40B applications, the first available date was Tuesday, the 29th of December, which is right after Christmas. Does that date cause any difficulties to you, Mr. Brodsky? Tuesday, the 29th is the first evidentiary date.
Not for me, Mr. Leonard, but of course, I'd like to check with the team.
Okay. And then we're going to have a series of dates here. Let me tell you what the proposed dates are, and then we can deal with them rather than keep going back and forth. The dates that are tentatively being allocated for this particular hearing are Tuesday, December 29, Tuesday, January 5, Wednesday, January 6, Thursday, January 7, Tuesday, January 12, Tuesday, January 19, Wednesday, January 20, and Thursday, January 21. I doubt that we need half of those dates, but those are the dates that are generally available for this particular application. And we may, if we have, say, the first 3 or 4 hearings, the applicant finishes his presentation, the board may determine that we need some peer review. That may have to continue the hearing before it closes, so we can get the peer reviews done and have the peer review testimony. We probably could proceed with the town's case, but that's where we're going to have some cooperation by all of the parties here and some reasonable flexibility. So, Mr. Brodsky, I know you want to check with your witnesses, but do any of those dates, do you have vacation plans or personal issues during January or perhaps early February?
Mr. Leonard, I have nowhere to go, but I personally have 5 hearings already scheduled for January 5th, but we can take that date, and that's why I have the able assistance of Mr. Golding. We'll figure out how to get this done and meet your requirements.
Okay, well, that would be great, but to do this, please. If something comes up that really requires your personal attendance, don't be bashful. We're delighted to have Mr. Goldings do anything that both of you want to do and you feel comfortable doing it. But if there's some issue that comes up, business, personal, or otherwise, just let us know in advance. What we'd like to do is to try to finish the evidence as quickly as we can here, with the proviso that it may take a couple of weeks or perhaps even longer for some peer review evidence to be available to the board. So we'll just have to display some flexibility with the available dates, and I'll deal with the chairman of the second, third, and fourth hearings that are following here if we need to move back and forth on some different dates in order to have our peer reviews if needed, and to give you the opportunity to offer rebuttal evidence or present any evidence that you think you need to on behalf of the clients. I know you have great experience dealing with the 40B projects. I'm not sure how many of them you've had on the Zoom system or have had virtually. Have you had a virtual hearing with your 40Bs?
Not yet, Mr. Leonard, but I've done any number of other types of zoning and conservation hearings on Zoom.
Okay, great. We're relatively new to it here, so don't be bashful if you have any suggestions as to how to be more efficient or perhaps proceed in a more orderly way than we're suggesting. Let me ask you, do you think that perhaps by the end of the week or sometime early the following week, which would be the 21st or the 22nd, you could put together a proposed witness list for the various hearings and give some thought after talking with the witnesses as to which witnesses you want to offer at the proposed hearings, and how long you think that that type of evidence with some reasonable questioning and cross-examination would take?
Of course, Mr. Leonard.
Okay, then that would make sense, and it will give us an opportunity to review those issues, review the application, and be prepared for hopefully an efficient hearing. Do you have any suggestions that I haven't mentioned, Mr. Brodsky, that you think would be helpful in efficiently scheduling these evidentiary hearings in our administrative context here?
Mr. Leonard, you did mention peer review, and
Yeah.
I do know that consultants are very busy and difficult to book. And so I don't know what subject matters you may be anticipating you want peer review to be performed, but I don't know if it makes sense to get ahead of some of those things, since we may need to wait for those consultants to find the time. You have to solicit proposals. Obviously, you need to select your peer review consultants. Then it may take some weeks before they're able to review materials. And so I didn't want that to delay the process.
Well, I hope it won't, but we have technically 180 days to have the hearing. I prefer to get this application finished with some degree of dispatch, but there are certain obvious issues that I think would require some type of peer review. For example, the density of the building, the size of the building. For example, that was one of the, when I read the application and some of the correspondence within the last day or two, it seems like the town thought that the building was too large and too dense and would prefer some alternative. the Department of Housing and Community Development of Mass, whatever it is here, wrote that back to your client indicating that perhaps they would consider some type of either reduction in density or breaking up the building or doing some other less dense development of the property. I don't know whether your client has done that or is going to do it or where that stands. And we're not going to know where some of those issues are until we've had an evidentiary hearing and see what your position is on that. But if you assume that the applicant's position is that we want to build the project as presented, then that would certainly be something that I think we'd want to have reviewed by somebody who is reasonably competent in that area and have had conversations with Ms. Barrett about those issues already. So we intend to keep the peer review process discrete to major issues, and we're attempting to get on board peer review consultants who will cooperate with us with the tight timing that we have here, and will give some degree of reasonable priority to our needs under these circumstances. Particularly this first case and maybe the second case. When you get into the third or fourth cases, you're going to be in March or April or May, and I think they have sufficient time to do their work. Is that somewhat helpful to you, Mr. Brodsky?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and by the time we have 2 or 3 of these hearings, if you take 2 or 3 evenings, we should have a much better idea as to peer review consultants that the board thinks we may want to consider, and see in the real world what timeframes they need, and hopefully on the shorter side of things rather than the longer side of things. Do you have any other questions about the proposed procedures?
No, sir.
Okay. Let me ask my fellow board members, Mrs. King, do you have any comments or questions or? Okay. Mr. Connolly, do you have any questions that you want to ask of anyone?
No questions.
Okay, let me ask Miss Barrett or any representative of the town who may be present this evening, and whether they want to talk about the dates or the procedures that were set out, and maybe answer one probing question that I have here, and that is who, if anybody, is going to be representing the town or be a point person for the town regarding the presentation of the town's case, or asking any questions of the witnesses that Mr. Brodsky may offer into evidence.
So, Mr. Chairman, I know I'm going to be working through the planning department and other departments to make sure the staff know what you need in terms of their comments or questions about the applicant's submittal. So I'll try to play a coordinational role here. That is on behalf of the ZBA, of course, it's because I'm here to help you.
Mhm.
We have started to try to get peer review proposals. I requested architectural and engineering today. I'm going to get on traffic tomorrow because I assume those are usually the 3 that we tend to see boards wanting help with. I'm not aware of anything else right now on this project, but you can certainly tell me what else you think you might need. I'm not sure what role the town per se is going to play in this. I just know, of course, many boards and so forth are interested. But my role in this case is really to make sure that the staff are able to conduct the technical review that they need to do for the board. So you have the information you need to judge the application based on the local concerns that are laid out in the statute. So that's the best answer I can give you tonight.
Okay, and I think I asked you this, but let me do it one more time. The possible site visit on the 19th, is that convenient for you?
It's not great, but I'll do it.
Well, we'll provide snowshoes or sleds or something like that. We'll try it. And if Mr. Bosworth and his staff feel that when we get into the 17th or 18th, we do have 20 inches of snow and it's bitter cold and it's brutal. We're not looking for superhuman visits. This site visit can be continued to a more friendly, cooperative, weather-wise date. So if you have trepidation or difficulty having the site appropriate for a site review, just let us know and we'll notify everybody and we'll
And how will he let us know? Contact me?
well, yeah, no, all of the contacts here will be with Beverly Sutton, the senior clerk for the Board of Appeals. Probably best in writing through email, and please copy me in on the email so I'll be there as well. And if for some reason the site visit has to be continued, Beverly will put a notice with the town clerk so that the public can be aware that the site visit is continued.
So I have to know no later than time on Friday.
Right, that's exactly right. Beverly suggests that it should have to know no later than noontime on Friday. I'd actually prefer that it before that. If things look dismal on Thursday, then we'll pull the plug on the site visit.
Mr.
You-
Chairman, may I ask a question
Yes, please.
to Beverly through you? Will the town staff, police, fire, planning and so forth be notified about the site visit date and time? Is that something Beverly would do? Is that something you want me to do? What's your preference? In case they want to go on the site visit too, just because I don't know what the town staff have seen. So
Well, I think that since anybody who wants to attend can attend, whether it's members of the public or officers of the town or the Board of Select Persons, whomever. So my guess is if you're coordinating things on behalf of the Board of Appeals, you certainly can give notice to any town department you think has maybe participating to some extent in any of these hearings and just give them notice of the site visit, and nobody's required to attend. Anyone who wants to attend can attend. People who really are not going to participate in the hearing can attend. It's
Right.
just the more the merry. So that's the way I think. I assume I see some of the members of the Board of Select Persons here. So we'll be talking to them next. I think they certainly can notify any town officials they think should attend and ask them to attend or see if they want to attend. I don't present the town's case. So does that make sense to you, Ms. Barrett?
yeah, it does. I mean, I'll probably circle back with Beverly tomorrow on this.
Okay, that makes consummate sense. I
Melinda?
yes, the names keep popping around on the list here, so excuse me. We have the chairperson of the Board of Select Persons, Melinda Collins, present virtually. Melinda, do you want to be heard on anything we've set up to the present time?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You had asked about who would be representing the town at hearings, and I did not know because I cannot see the participants list or the attendees list if our town planner, Tim Zerwinski, was here, but that will be confirmed. The plan so far is that he would handle the Ice House this particular hearing. So he would be our point person.
Okay, well, that's good news on two fronts. I know Tim, and it sounds that he's doing well. He unfortunately he did come down with the coronavirus, and I guess his recuperation has gone well.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much for your concern.
Okay, that's great, and at least for this particular hearing, that will make life easier for everybody. Do you have anything else you want to add, Ms. Collins? Mrs. Collins, excuse me.
No, that's quite all right. No, we're just looking forward to a productive process, and we thank the board for the work that we know you're going to be doing, and we'll be talking to you, I'm sure.
Okay, and I also noticed Board Member Katie Conlon is present. Ms. Conlon, do you want to say anything regarding any issue which we have discussed up to now?
Hello, Katie.
Yes. There we are. Katie, you're now permitted to talk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. No, I have nothing to add to what Ms. Collins has already stated.
Okay, well, great. So thank you for attending tonight. We thank both of you for attending. Let me just ask as a general question, in terms of the people who are attendees at the hearing, we have 10 people that are listed. Is there anybody else out there who wants to be heard on any of the issues that we've discussed up to now? Okay, it looks like the evidence is that nobody else wishes to be heard. So that unless there's more, do you have anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Brodsky, or Mr. Goldings want to add something, say anything?
No, thank you, Mr. Leonard. We thank everyone for their time and look forward to seeing everyone on Saturday, weather permitting.
That you all right,
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Sutton? Okay, that's great. So we'll plan on having a site visit on Saturday at 10 o'clock. And if for whatever reason that becomes inconvenient for the applicant, just let us know sometime, let's say Thursday midday or something like that, so we can post the necessary notices. And we intend to hear back from Mr. Brodsky sometime early next week with the proposed witness lists and exhibit lists and all of that stuff. And I'll just mention that when the applicant has finished his application, putting aside peer review issues, we'll be expecting Mr. Tim Szynski, I think you pronounce his name, to provide a similar list of any witnesses the town is going to offer, if they want to offer anybody, that's together with exhibits and all of that. Certainly 3 or 4 days before the town begins any presentation that it wishes to make. And so I think we've agreed then our first evidentiary hearing is going to be on the 29th of December at 7 o'clock in the evening. So if nobody has any further questions, and I hear none, then we will adjourn this hearing. Let me thank everybody for their attendance and their cooperation. Stay safe from COVID issues. Protect yourself from the storm, which may be worse than some of the COVID issues. And hopefully we'll have a nice, cordial, efficient hearing and be able to get this case decided with some degree of dispatch. All of the applicants that are appearing before us here have waited a long time to be heard, and we want to do our best to accommodate their needs. So see everybody who wants to attend on the 19th, if that goes forward. If it doesn't go forward, we'll pick another date that's convenient to everyone. And we have our first evidentiary hearing, 7 o'clock on January 29th, unless Mr. Brodsky tells us he has witness issues or some other issue. If that happens, by the way, we'll be putting a notice on the town website so that everyone can have access to that information. So,
And thank you, Mr. Leonard. December 29, I think you may have misspoken, December 29 at 7 p.m.
yes, did I say January 29th?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to clarify for the record.
Well, maybe that's a distant wish for me, but I think I think you certainly have earned the right to be heard fully and fairly at the hearing. It is December 29th at 7 o'clock. So we'll be adjourned, at least this panel of the Board of Appeals will be adjourned until that time. If in the interim, anybody has any issues that we didn't consider tonight or that have come up since this evening has ended, please be fully comfortable to send an email to Beverly Sutton with a copy to me, and we'll do our very best to accommodate everybody's needs. So have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Chairman Leonard.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
We'll be adjourned. Bye-bye.